Hi, Trevor here, reflecting on life through music. Thank you for stopping by. Well, coming again today, you're very welcome. I trust you enjoyed my last video on the Allman Brothers Band and through the song Ramblin Man. We looked at this balance of freedom in relationships, so I trust you found that one encouraging. Not particularly easy to do, but if you can talk about it, it can work. So we're going from there. Well, in fact, before we got to the formation of these guys in 1967 in Ontario, Canada, there were a group of guys between 58 and 63 called the Hawks, and these guys were very much in the country music genre, absolutely. So, but with country music comes the incredible harmonies, incredible musicianship, and all the rest of it that goes along with that genre. But over in Liverpool, the world had changed. The Beatles were doing what they were doing and really shaking things up big time, and no genre was safe really. Including country music. And so what was happening is everything was starting just to beef up a little bit in intensity and musicianship. In fact, it was in 1965 Bob Dylan famously at the Newport Folk Festival put down, this is a folk festival, okay, you get the feeling of, you know, beautiful harmonies, acoustic guitars, all the rest of it. He put down the acoustic guitar and picked up the electric. Music changed in that moment. Now, in typical Bob Dylan fashion, he likes to do things his own way and put his own mark in the world. That's why he's had such longevity in the industry. And so, interesting. So when Rhett Danko, Robbie Robertson, Richard Manuel, Levin Helm got together and formed the band, this is the name of the group, the band, they actually got to be Bob Dylan's electric band when Bob Dylan said, I'm going to go electric from now on. These guys were backing for him. So pretty significant in the scheme of things to be backing a master songwriter and one of the best musicians of all time, Bob Dylan, one of the best songwriters of all time, Bob Dylan. And I did do a couple of videos on him a little while back. Of course, he got two because he is significant in the world of music. But to be his backing band, to do the guitars, the drums, and the backing vocals required for Bob, who's got an interesting voice, let's just call it that. He needs a certain way of musician to be able to accompany him. Well, you know, you've made it. And these guys absolutely did that. But they did eventually strike out on their own. In 1968, out came the album Music from the Big Pink. Now, this is a very extremely significant album, this one, in many ways. Many people, including such greats as Eric Clapton, have cited this album as a very significant album in the scheme of things. Because, again, we were capturing this transition between folk, country, and country rock. And the band pretty much are famous for cementing and just getting the genre on country rock going forward. And I'm going to talk about another band in a minute, a very successful band that cites these guys as a major influence. So, and one of the reasons this album was so successful is because we got the song The Weight on here. Now, this song ranked by Rolling Stone at number 41 of the 500 greatest songs of all time. There we go. Now, one of the great things about The Weight is often the drummer is the lead vocalist, Rick. And so to be able to do that while singing is pretty amazing, and to just keep the beat going for what is a band that's got just so much going on stage. Sometimes there's horns, sometimes there's all sorts of things. So to be able to carry the lead vocals while drumming is pretty amazing. Now, The Weight. We're not talking about going to the gym here, right? That's not the weight we're talking about. Now, we all know that songs are philosophical most of the time. So we're talking philosophical weight here. Well, what would we mean? Like, it's the weight of the world, the weight of expectation, the weight of always having to be popular, the weight of always having to say the right thing, the weight of our workplaces, the weight of having to pay the bills, the weight of having to just be a certain way when we don't want to be that sometimes. we think about us being our own people these days, and that's sort of the quotes that go around it. But that's in the formal world. In the informal world, we're still trying to work this stuff out, and we can't be ourselves. We find it tricky to be ourselves because everybody else is doing differently. I think about phones and headphones at the moment. Everybody seems to be doing that, right? It's like we have to follow what other people are doing. We cannot be ourselves. And it's a bit of a challenge, So when the weight of the world is too much, what do? Well, do you go away? Do you have a holiday? What a great idea. Leaving where you are and going somewhere else, what a great thing to do. Do you hang out for the weekends? Like the Monday to Friday thing is just kind of there, but the weekend is when life really happens. Or you get home at night, you have your dinner and you go to bed, wake up next morning, go back to work. Doesn't sound very much like living to me, because the weight, and let's face it, we do have to pay the bills, and so we need to have money to be able to do that. But there's a lot of pressure in that space as well, and so we do everything we can to only just pay the bills, but get a bit extra for ourselves as well. So it comes down to perhaps the way we live in our lives as well. Maybe we can put a bit of a relaxed attitude in there. So instead of rushing to get somewhere, give ourselves just a little bit more time and take our time to get there. It gives us a chance for our brain to think about what weights might be coming up and what we can do to make it easier. We can have a relaxed mindset in the busyness I am thinking. I remember taking a client, I used to do support work, and we went to a really popular festival. He really struggled with crowds, and so I went on a Wednesday night when it wasn't quite so busy, or we went, I should say. And so what I said to him, hey, look, there's going to be a lot of people here tonight, but let's just have a relaxed mindset about it, and we'll just look for a gap to head to. And because of that, he had an absolutely wonderful time. The weight of being a certain way was lifted. And I think there's something about, again, a relaxed mindset that enables us to look at life a bit differently, give ourselves a bit of space to operate in a way that we want to operate, as opposed to in a way that other people are expecting us to operate. Because we are employed because we have the sufficient skill to do what we do, and also to bring our own personality to that work as well, even if it's just a little bit, but it's enough to just enable the weight of expectation just to be released just a little bit. Of course, it goes around the other way too, that when you are looking at other people, you take the weight of expectation off them that you may be putting on them. So let's not judge people. Let's not try and work out why people are acting in a certain way. People are doing the best they can with what they got. We're all trying to deal with the weight. So such a good song by the band, and in that live clip there you see just incredible. Their vocals are singing one of the best songs of all time right there. Then we got The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down. This is very much about the changing times of music. The good old Dixie time and the good old values of all of that is changing. So we've got a live version of that one. Now, the band performed at Woodstock in 1969, so there we go. If you performed at Woodstock, you made it. So these guys absolutely had been making it at that time. Now, I mentioned a little bit earlier that these guys pioneered country rock. Now, who can think of another country rock band? If you think the song Hotel California, New Kid in Town, Life in the Fast Lane, Don Henley, Glenn Frey, Don Fielder, Joe Walsh, and Timothy Smith, the Eagles. Well, the Eagles cite the band as a major influence. In fact, and because of that, because of the work that these guys did about establishing the country rock genre, the Eagles well and truly capitalised on that and are one of the most successful bands of all time. In fact, I think they've got the highest selling album of all time now, which is The Best of the Eagles. I like Michael Jackson's Thriller is second, and I think Hotel California is third. So to have #1 and 3 top selling albums of all time is a pretty amazing feat, and we can thank the band for the influence of the Eagles, absolutely. We then go on to 1970 and Stage Fright, and we've got the song The Shape I'm In. Interesting, probably implying the shape's probably not so good at the moment. Sometimes one of the best things we can do is sing about it, and so we've got The Shape I'm In there. Now, between 1968 and 1998, how long is that career? 30 years, actually. 10 studio albums, 9 live albums, 10 compilation albums, 8 video albums, and 33 singles. There was a bit of a gap between 77 and before our reunion in 1983. It's a classic case that bands never really die. They just might have a bit of a break for a while, but they never really die. Now, when Rick Danko died in 1999, of course, he was one of the mainstays of the band, being drums and lead vocals. They called it a day at that point. You can't, keep going sometimes when one of the significant members dies. So rest in peace, Rick Danko. And any of his family are watching, my condolences to you. Other influences, of course, we're talking late 60s, so, and rock, we've got Led Zeppelin, cites these guys as an influence, George Harrison in his solo career, and Elton John. Elton John has these really incredible ballads, but he also has some pretty amazing hard rock numbers. And so to cite the band as an influence, the sound, the production, the vocals, the harmonies, all of that, Elton John is a force of nature as well. So he's been influenced big time by the band. The band were inducted into the Canadian Hall of Fame and also into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And below I've also got a link to when Eric Clapton, who very jokingly talked about wanting to get into the band but never quite getting there, but having absolute respect for guys who just did what they did. It's great to see him induct them into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Rolling Stone put them the 50th of the 100 greatest acts of all time. So again, a significant accolade there. And these guys have received the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award as well. So again, a bunch of guys I didn't know much about, but I did know the song The Wait. It's funny how you wonder who does these songs, and when you find it, you think, oh yeah, that makes sense now. So I trust this has all been an encouragement for you today. And I've also, by the way, included, so the link to those, how many we got? 1, 2, 3, as I look at my notes here, 4, I think it is. In the links to the 4 songs are in the description below. And I've also included my last video from the Allman Brothers. So if you want to recap on them, feel free. Well, this is your first time, the live reflection of true music. Welcome to this strange channel. But if you've come back as regular friends, it's great to see you all back. Feel free to put a request in below. Now, we're a little way off starting the H's yet. We've got at least 10 videos to go. We're just remembering all these people. What can we say? So next time we're going to go on to Barry Maguire. Now, he had the song Eve of Destruction. So we're going to look at that one next time. Just for something different. So until then, I'll catch you around. Bye for now.